If you have complaints, then why don't you just quit, you uneducated, low peasant wife? You don't have to tell me twice. I already have, you undisciplined, loose old lady. My name is Tomomi Tanaka. I'm a 27-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Yohei, who is the same age as me, and our daughter in preschool. My husband works at a small company in our hometown, and he works very hard for us. His salary wasn't that high, but we didn't have any problems. That's because while taking care of the chores and our young child, I was also working part-time to make ends meet. Our daughter is so cute, and my husband and I get along well. Every day is full of happiness with them. However, suddenly one day, a huge incident occurred. It was just a regular day, as I sent Yohei off to work. But then, I got a message from my husband before lunch break.
Hey, please, take a deep breath for what I'm about to tell you. There's been a big problem.
What's the matter? Aren't you at work right now?
About that, I don't have work anymore.
What do you mean?
The company is going to go bankrupt.
What? I didn't know business was that bad.
The CEO took the company money and ran away.
What?
Because of that, there's no severance pay either. Even if they wanted to pay it, the company account is empty, and there's nothing they can do.
No way. I couldn't believe it, but my husband's company collapsed. Not only that, but without any severance pay in the end. From there, the situation of our household changed in an instant. We did have some savings, but we couldn't relax. My husband needed to find his next job, and I also had to increase my shifts. Unfortunately, my husband was having a really hard time finding his next job. In this day and age, without a college degree, it wasn't rare to be dropped by his application before even getting an interview. I wanted to pick up more shifts at my part-time job, but I was having difficulty getting as many shifts as I was requesting. We were only digging into our savings more and more, and my husband was getting more discouraged, and we were in a really tight situation. However, about a month and a half after my husband's company collapsed, I got a message from Miss Chie Suzuki, whose child was also attending the same preschool as my daughter. I never had much interaction with her. I just knew her face and her name, so I was pretty surprised. But I didn't think it was right to ignore her, so I decided to engage. Hello, I'm very sorry for the sudden message. I heard this through the grapevine, but is it true that your husband's company went bankrupt? Yes, that's true. My, how unfortunate. But I thought that maybe I could be of some help to you. That's why I messaged you. What do you mean by that? Actually, our company just so happens to be looking for people right now. The salary might not be that high, but it is a full-time position. How would your husband feel about that? That would be great. However, he doesn't have a college degree. Would that be a problem? Because of his educational background, a lot of companies won't even give him an interview. Oh dear, he doesn't have a college degree. In reality, we're only looking for college graduates, but let me see what I can do for him. Also, this is a part-time role, but we were also looking for a janitor. I think the hourly wage is actually pretty good for this one. I would love to know the details for that. Thank you very much for contacting me. Sure. Well then, let's meet and talk about it. Now that I think about it, Miss Chia's husband was the CEO of SME, and I remember hearing that she herself is also a board member there. Apparently, the company has been doing well recently, and she's been in very good spirits lately. If we can't find work, then we can't live. So Yohei and I both have to work hard together. And so, I decided to take a chance at this opportunity. A few days later, we went to go to talk to Miss Chie about these two positions, but she was a lot more intense than we could have imagined. She gave us an extremely simple explanation, like the salary is about this much once you're hired, your days off are about this many, and after that, she spent the entire time just bragging about herself. The other day, I did way too much shopping in France. What do you think of this bag? It cost me about $10,000. It's very lovely. That's all you have to say about it? Oh, I guess you wouldn't know anything about brand name items. And well, I wouldn't have minded if this was the extent of it, but... Oh, by the way, you also didn't go to college, right, Miss Tomomi? How unfortunate. I haven't been inconvenienced by it up until now, and I don't regret it either. Without an education, you probably can't even realize how much you're missing out on. Perhaps you're right. In some ways, I can see how that's happiness.
I'm the one that's suffering without the degree. Because I didn't go to college, I put my family in this position. Because of my lack of skills, I can't buy her any brand name things either. But that's why, if you do hire me, I plan on working harder than anyone so that my education doesn't cross anybody's mind.
Oh my, you're defending your wife. What a kind man. Yohei, you look like a very lovely person, and you seem like you can work well. It's no problem that you didn't go to college. I look forward to working with you. Why is her attitude so different between Yohei and me? He has always been good-looking, and he has a kind personality, and is really great with people, so I knew that he was quite popular amongst the fellow moms. I'm sure Miss Chie also took a liking to Yohei. I did have a bad feeling about Miss Chie, who was abnormally condescending towards me, but I also knew that beggars can't be choosers. Both my husband and I had to bow down to her, as we were both going to enter her company. However, just as I could have expected, working at her company became an extremely stressful thing. Hey, what's going on with the cleaning of the second floor toilets? It's a complete disaster! I'm very sorry. I will redo it. Sheesh, get it together. Please don't slack off on your work just because this is your friend's company. No, that wasn't my intention. Why? Are you trying to make up excuses? Did you forget that you have a job here out of pity? I'm very sorry. I will immediately go back to clean the second floor toilets again. Would you mind please telling me what was wrong with them? One of the stalls was out of toilet paper. I need you to do your job properly. What? In that case, I just checked all of the rolls in the stalls earlier. I used up the roll. That's why I'm telling you that it's gone. Now hurry up and go fix it. I have left a few extra rolls in every stall so that the person who used the last paper can refill them. Excuse me? Are you telling me to do it? You know I'm the CEO's wife and on the board of directors. Little things like that is your job as a part-timer. I'm busy, so don't make me waste my time and energy on such trivial things. How do I say this? But my jaw was always on the floor, to the point where I think the word arrogance exists for this woman specifically. But if I talk back to her, then it would put Yohei in a difficult position. When I thought about it that way, I had to close my mouth and do as I was told. Because of that, every day I was exhausted. As for Yohei, even though his salary was very low, apparently he was getting by somehow. That's partly because he was already highly skilled, but it's mainly because it was clear that Miss Chie was favoriting him. For example, like this. Mr. Yohei, you are really so brilliant. At this rate, I think we'll be able to increase your salary in no time.
That would be really helpful.
I look forward to working with you. If you need anything at all, you can always come to me. I'll go running to my husband to get it fixed immediately.
I don't have any complaints about this workplace. Thank you for having both my wife and me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I was just glad that my husband wasn't so clearly disliked as I was. I didn't want to make him worry unnecessarily, so I told him that Miss Chie was being good to me, and it seemed like Yohei was enjoying his new job. And then one day, about a few months after we started our new jobs...
Hey, do you mind if I get home a little late tonight?
Isn't today a no overtime day? Is there something you need to do?
Miss Chie invited me to go to dinner.
What? Oh, really? With what purpose?
I don't know, but she said there was something important she needed to talk about concerning work, so she said she made a reservation at a restaurant. Maybe I'm going to get a raise?
In that case, I think she should tell you during work hours.
Even if so, it's an invitation from my boss, so it's hard to say no. As soon as the discussion is over, I'll come straight home.
This was the message I received. I had an unexplainable bad feeling wash over me, but I tried to shake it off and tried not to let those thoughts invade my mind. Surely she wouldn't go after an employee of her own husband's company like that, no matter how outrageous she was. Or so I tried to convince myself, but a few hours later...
I'm home.
What happened? Yohei came home out of breath, with his face completely pale. It was clear that something was really distressing him. Here, drink water first, and sit down on the sofa. Take a deep breath. What on earth happened?
I'm so sorry. Truly.
He seemed terrified to tell me as he began explaining the situation. The words that came out of his mouth were even more insane than I could have imagined. When Yohei finished work as planned, he met with Miss Chie and got into a taxi with her. He thought they were heading to the restaurant, but...
Isn't this place...
I forgot to tell you, but I wasn't able to get a reservation at the restaurant. In that case, I thought I could just prepare it at my place. Is there a problem?
No.
By the time he realized, they had already arrived at Miss Chie's house. There was a huge problem, but because she was his boss, he wasn't able to go against her. He figured that Miss Chie's wife and the CEO of the company, Mr. Tomoya, would at least be home. And if they were in the privacy of their house, that he would be able to speak to them openly and went inside. That was his mistake.
Oh, is the CEO not home this evening?
That's right. His close friend is visiting from out of town. So they went climbing for the day and he won't be back until tomorrow.
I see. And what about your daughter?
She's with my parents at our family home. Which meant that Yohei and Miss Chie were the only ones in the house. Yohei was shown to the living room, and Miss Chie said she was going to get changed and got up. Then, 5 minutes later...
Whoa! Wait, what are you doing, ma'am?
What do you mean? Can't you tell? He said that she arrived back, wearing nothing but lingerie. Look, if you get along well with me, a lot of good things will happen to you.
No.
Of course, I'll keep this a secret for you, so you don't need to be so shy.
Please, stop messing around. I'm going to go home now. I hope we can have this discussion again when the CEO's around.
The second he stood up, he said she jumped onto him like a carnivore and attacked him.
Stop, please. This isn't a joke.
Don't worry. Just stay calm and you'll be fine.
No, help me!
They got into a scuffle, but my husband somehow managed to get out of her grip and ran out of the house back home. Yohei is generally very calm and composed, but he was on the verge of tears. It must have been horrifying. This was crossing the line, and I wasn't going to keep my mouth shut. Once I confirmed that Yohei was calm, I headed straight to her house. Who the hell is it at this time? Oh. What on earth were you trying to do? Putting your hands on someone else's husband. Don't tell me that this was always your objective, and that's why you reached out to me in the first place. Of course not. I heard you two were struggling, so I was trying to be kind. I was just trying to have a little taste of Yohei, that's all. A little taste? That is far too insane. You don't care if I tell your husband about this? If you want to tell him, then go ahead. My husband is obsessed with me. If I tell him you're lying, then who do you think he'll believe? Plus, you don't even have any evidence. That's true. Yohei just ran away, so there was no proof it ever happened. I didn't want to be the one to speak up and put him into an even worse position. But first of all, who do you think you are barging into the CEO and board member's house as just a lowly janitor? Does job position matter right now? Shut up. If you have any complaints, then why don't you just quit already? Excuse me? You don't have to tell me. I will be quitting. You uneducated, low-life peasant wife. I'd much rather be that than some undisciplined, loose old hag who lacks any common decency. I said what I wanted to say and slammed the door behind me. The next day, I said I would be resigning effective immediately, and it was quickly accepted. Of course, my husband did the same. I'm sure as a board member, she came up with some reason as to why. On paperwork, it was irritatingly filled out as due to personal circumstances. "This is all your fault!" I wanted to shout from the top of my lungs. We needed to work hard to once again figure out our livelihood, but that was much better than having to deal with her. I hated that she humiliated the both of us, but I refused to let her win and tried to be positive as I looked for a new job. 1 month later, my husband managed to find a new job, and I was able to find an accommodating part-time job. I was relieved and ready to start this new chapter when I received a phone call from a very unexpected person.
Hello? Is this Mrs. Tanaka? This is Chie's husband, Tomoya.
The voice on the other end of the phone was none other than that loose old hag's husband, Mr. Tomoya. He said he wanted to talk to us, so my husband and I went back to our old office together. We had our guards up since he was the husband of that person. But when we came face to face with Mr. Tomoya, we were shocked that he dropped his head down to us.
I'm so terribly sorry. Although I may not have been home, I also must take responsibility for my wife's reckless actions. You were also forced to resign from your jobs, and I simply don't have the words to express my regret. Sir, please, lift your head. Isn't our reasoning for resigning listed as personal circumstances? How do you know the truth, sir? You are both a very honest couple, and I know how hard you were working for our company. I was looking forward to building this company together with you, but when you suddenly both resigned due to personal circumstances, something felt off. I confronted my wife about it, but she flipped the switch on me, and we couldn't have a discussion. That's when I knew that the reason you both resigned was my wife.
We were both stunned by the CEO's compassion. We didn't know what to say. Perhaps he realized as he tried to force a smile.
Actually, there was one other reason why I asked you both to come here today.
The CEO turned on the monitor that was in the room. Then, a certain footage was played on the screen.
Stop, please! This isn't a joke!
Don't worry. Just stay calm and you'll be fine.
No! Help me!
It was none other than the scene from that night. Even though I had heard the story from Yohei, it was even more carnivorous than I could have imagined. Seeing Yohei scream for help, he must have been so scared of her in that moment. Her eyes looked hungry, that I can understand why he was on the verge of tears. However, how did the CEO have this footage? He must have sensed that I had questions, as the CEO quietly began to talk.
Mr. Yohei, I am so sorry to make you relive such a horrible memory. To tell you the truth, I was thinking about divorcing my wife for a while now.
According to the CEO, this wasn't the first time that she brought a young man into their home. For a few years now, apparently she was bringing her targets over and enjoying them deliciously to her heart's content. Ever since Mr. Tomoya began to suspect his wife's infidelity, he secretly set up hidden cameras around the house. He then continued to take records of his wife's unethical and extremely problematic behavior with men. After getting plenty of undeniable evidence, he was going to proceed with the divorce without any doubt of winning the settlement.
I realize this is a shameless request, but is there any way you would be able to tell my divorce lawyer about your incident with my wife? If we take your statement, apparently, that can also count as evidence.
Of course, my husband and I didn't hesitate to agree. He also asked that, if we would be okay with it, that he wanted us to come back to the company, but we declined. When we told him that we both found jobs with great benefits, he was very happy for us. Well then, I would love to see what kind of face that woman was going to make when hit with the news. A few weeks later, "Please, honey, please, I can explain. It was just a small impulse. You're the only one that I truly love." Miss Chia was finally smacked with a divorce. With countless evidence presented before her eyes, she went completely pale. The way she was begging to her husband was also pathetic.
I'm sorry to say, but from now on, we will be speaking through my lawyer. You should probably hire one too, although it might be too late at this point.
Mr. Tomoya had no intention of settling, and so Miss Chia went to her last resort. Please don't say that. We can make up. Can you really forget about this body? You're never going to be able to touch it again. She tried to start taking off her clothes when the CEO coldly responded.
That body that betrayed your husband with multiple men, it's so disgusting, I never want to see it again. And take a look at yourself in the mirror. Your terrible personality is overflowing. The one saving grace is that our child didn't turn out to be like you.
How can you say that when I'm more beautiful than anyone? I was no longer able to contain my laughter. Actually, I was watching the whole situation unfold from a monitor in a different room. I already knew what a terrible personality she had, but in exchange for our statement against her, I asked to let me watch Miss Chie go into panic. Perhaps she heard my voice because she stormed into the room looking like a monster. Why, what the hell are you two doing here?
You put the both of us to shame, and we both suffered tremendously because of you. Surely there's no problem for you to allow us to feel a little refreshed.
What is this? Even though I know deep down you really wanted to have a good time with me, Yohei, you just got a little scared and ran away. Isn't that right?
No, I was actually just genuinely scared.
Despite having a high educational background, thank you for showing us that if you have a bad personality, you can still fail in life. Thank you for the lesson, Miss Chie. You really showed us through actions and not words like a true leader. What the hell is this? So you're all just going to gang up and bully me?
This is 100% your fault! Now just apologize and get out! And spend the rest of your life alone, regretting what you've done!
In the end, the divorce went through. Miss Chie was sued for a high settlement fee, and there was almost no separation of assets. The husband would be getting full custody of their child as well. I can imagine she won't be able to fish for any men anymore. I hope she uses that education that she's always bragging about to find a new job.